going to now focus on a big risk that Johan and Sipa shared earlier, and that is cybercrime. The topic we've selected was Hack the Human, Master Cybersecurity. I'd like to welcome Kevin Hogan from Investec Private Bank, a fraud and risk expert, to help us just navigate this issue as we have on hand. There's this saying that it takes 5 years to build a reputation and a few minutes with a cyber attack to ruin it. There's also a stat up there to say 78% of South African businesses were exposed to ransomware attacks in 2023. And I'm sure it's probably higher in 2024. Kevin, am I right in saying cybersecurity is no longer an IT issue, but a business survival strategy? In a world where cybercrime is evolving faster and faster, it's not a question of if you'll be targeted, it's when you'll be targeted. So I'm going to give you to the audience, and please help them just to be aware of what's happening. And some of them might even know that they're already been hacked. So Kevin, over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm always perceived to be the prophet of doom. So the next 20 minutes is going to be a real bummer. I'm sorry. But I think forewarned is forearmed. And really what I want to focus on is everything here is technology, right? You're talking about AI, you're talking about all these wonderful products that make your life easier. Now, what's really interesting about when we talk about cybercrime is we think technology is the issue, and it's not. The reality is it's the human being behind the technology that's causing the problem, okay? So computers only do what you tell them to do. Cell phones only do what you tell them to do. And so really what I want to do is, this is not going to be exhaustive by a long shot. I've really, along with Skulk, picked the very salient points that I think affect most businesses day to day. And really, I just want to create some thought inside of you to say, it's great that you've got a laptop. It's great that you've got, malware detection software in your business. It's great that you're doing some of these things. But the real problem, unfortunately, is you in the chair, it is your staff, because the way that we engage with technology, you are literally helping the cyber criminals steal from you. You are putting it on a plate. And so if we can put up the first slide, and then I'm going to take you through some of the attack vectors that are used, most common attack vectors that are used to steal from people. The first thing I want to deal with is, and I think most of us understand this word and we've heard it, and if you've ever worked in a corporate, you're probably very familiar with this, but it's a concept called phishing. Okay, now everybody on the call has been phished. So you've all won the UK lottery. You've received an email or an SMS saying you've won the UK lottery. In order to collect your winnings, please, you need to pay this amount. And that's what we call an advanced fee fraud scam. Okay, so that's it. Yolanda, next slide, thank you. Appreciate it. So this is a typical example of what phishing would look like. Now, phishing can come in many forms, and I'm going to show you 2 or 3 of them, but this is the primary modus that fraudsters are using. So it's either email, it's either SMS. You can actually be phished over the telephone, and I'm going to show you an example of that. But in everything that I'm talking to you about, I want you to be cognizant of the fact that the technology is not the problem. Okay, it is the human being that is the issue. Okay, so let's quickly walk through an attack. Okay, so there you see phishing email designed to look like Investec. Some of you bank with us, some of you don't. Please understand they're doing this with everybody. All the banks, they do it with Edgar's, they do it with Truist. Any brand can be used to create a phishing attack. So I'm using Investec as an example. Those numbers you see at the bottom there are our real numbers. If you phone them, you will get through to us. Okay, so let's go through the attack. So it says, please be advised, payment was unsuccessful, attaches the confirmation. If you have any questions, please contact Investec Support Center. Again, if you dial those numbers, you'll get through to us. Now, most human beings are looking for convenience. The last thing we want to do is call a call center. And this phishing email is designed to lay a trail of breadcrumbs for you to follow. So let's look at that trail. And that's the PDF you see in the top left-hand corner. There's a 69% chance if you click on that PDF, you'll download a virus. Okay, if you click on links in emails or attachments, you'll download a virus, or they'll send you the login screens. Okay, we're going to show it to you. Thank you, Landry. You can move to the next slide. So when you clicked on that PDF in the top left-hand corner, this is the page that opened. This is a very crude attempt at an Investec proof of payment for online. So supposedly a payment's been made, it's landed up in your account, and here's the proof of payment. And the fraudsters inserted the top line. Investec hereby confirms that the following payment is currently pending. For details, click here. Again, very high probability that if you click on the links, you could download a virus. Now, many of you don't work for large corporates. You're probably running a 1, 2, 3, 4-man show. Some of you are actually not spending money on security software. And I strongly encourage you that regardless of how big you are, like Skog said earlier, the likelihood that a fraud attempt will be perpetrated against very high. So let me give you the stat. You have a 23% chance of catching the seasonal flu, right? And that's quite common amongst most of us. You have a 28% chance that a cyber event will be tried against you in this calendar year. Okay. So you're more likely to have a cyber event against you than you are to catch the seasonal flu. So just let that sink in a little bit. Okay. In this particular example, you still don't know what's going on. You want to understand what's going on. So you click on the link. Thank you, Leandre. You can go to the next screen. And this is the page that opens. This is an exact replica of Investec's front-end login screen. It is identical in every way. Okay, the only difference is that the URL at the top is not us. So we are typically investec.com. You can clearly see it's not that. The whole point of this particular phishing expedition is to get you to give away your username and password. This is how the fraudsters are getting in. When you hear the word hacking, you assume that there's this, really crazy, clever dude, sits in grandma's base and eats Cheetos all day, and all he does is code. And if he tries to hack you, there's nothing you can do. That is not true. That is James Bond nonsense. Okay. The real attack is what I'm showing you now. It's a very practical, methodical con where you think you're doing something quite normal, and you click on these links, you land on these landing pages, and you literally give away your credentials. So in this attack, what will happen is you'll put in your username and password, you'll click login. What you don't realize is that the fraudsters logged into the real online banking using your credentials. So as you click login, so did he, and it's actually linked. They do it remotely. Click login, you then get the one-time PIN from the bank. Your brain is saying to you, I've just logged in, I'm getting the one-time PIN, it must be the bank. Meanwhile, the fraudsters logged in and generated that one-time PIN, not you. You click accept on your app and you let the fraudsters into your account. Okay, this is what phishing is designed to do. Let me show you another example of phishing. Go to the next screen, Leandre, thank you. So you can also be phished via SMS. Most of you know this scam completely. So we call it the courier scam, where you've received an SMS or email to say there's an outstanding package waiting for delivery. Please, would you pay the outstanding VAT or delivery fee? I think all of us have received this.
Especially on Christmas, you get those.
Yeah, exactly right. There's also an example at the bottom. You can be phished for Netflix. So let's use the Netflix example. Basically says that your Netflix subscription is about to expire. Please would you log in and update your payment details. You click on the link, a screen opens asking you for your credit card information. You fill in your credit card information, you click update now. They then say to you, please authorize the update. They send you an OTP. But the OTP you're actually getting is the fraudster has entered your card number, which you just gave away, into Google Pay. Sure. And they are registering your card information in Google Pay. The OTP you got was from Google Pay, not from the bank. And you inadvertently accept, or you type it into the screen, and you allow the fraudsters to load your card information on their phone. Okay. And all because you engaged with this phishing email. Same story here with the courier scam. You're going to click on it. You're going to give away your card information. You're literally going to go through that process. So you can be phished over email. You can be phished over SMS. And you can actually be phished over the phone, which I'm going to show you shortly. But this is the primary attack vector around the world that is used to get into network systems, all these different things. I mean, you've all heard these fantastic stories about, they hacked the Pentagon and they hacked a bank in Bangladesh where they stole $700 million. They hacked the Department of Justice here in South Africa. 99.99999% of the time, the way that they get in is phishing. Someone clicked on a link, someone gave their login credentials, someone clicked on a link, downloaded a virus. It is always requires engagement from a human being in every single case. Now, the other problem now, Leandre can go to the next slide, thank you. The other problem now is our human habits are also facilitating some of these things. And I'm only going to use one example. It's probably the most pertinent example, okay? Most of us didn't grow up with technology. So I finished school in 1992. There were no computers. I still had to do my projects on a board and buy a U magazine and pluck it with Prit and all that stuff, Our kids are all doing stuff on freaking computers today. And so we've developed habits over the years, and those habits haven't left us. The technology is evolving, but the way that we engage technology is not evolved. And that statement is very true for passwords. So let me quickly do a blind poll. Most of you on this call, the password to get into your cell phone is between 4 and 6 numbers. Okay. Now, if you look at the infographic in front of you, numbers only, how long is it going to take a bad guy to get into your cell phone? It is not even a challenge. It is virtually instantaneous. I have physically seen it done in under 9 seconds. A locked cell phone that only had a 4-digit password. Okay. Please understand that technology exists to decode your phone. Okay. I don't care if you've got an Apple, an Android. The test that we did on a device called GreyKey opened the phone in 9 seconds. It displayed the password literally in 9 seconds. Okay. The other problem that most people have is you are using the same password on multiple accounts. Okay. Most of us are guilty of probably having a Gmail username and password. A Gmail username and password is used for everything. Facebook, Instagram, online banking, all the stuff at home, all the stuff at work. This is part of the problem. One of those sites that you've used that password on is going to get hacked. Your entire password universe is going to be unlocked because your password will open everything. Okay, and so that's the other issue. You're also creating weak passwords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not a password. Okay, the word password is not a password. So part of this journey is that you've got to make a shift in your habits, how you engage with technology to keep yourself safe. Okay, so for example, and some of you are going to think I'm totally nuts, and probably my wife would agree with you. The password to get into my cell phone, my personal cell phone, is 23 characters long. Okay, now. Am I putting in that 23 character password every time? Absolutely not. I mean, I would throw the thing in the lake if I had to do that every time. I use facial recognition 99% of the time. But once in a blue moon, my phone's going to fall back and say, listen, we want a password. But it's a long sentence about my son. It's a passphrase. So I remember it really easy. Okay. And so.
What is it?
Yeah. Good one, Scott. Yeah, you didn't wake up early enough for that one. And so a lot of you are looking at me and rolling your eyes and thinking, good Lord, this guy's lost his mind. How am I ever going to do this? Now, the reality is that you can't remember 15 long passwords and what they belong to. It's impossible. For example, when I do live presentations, I do like a quick poll in the room. How many people can remember 10 cell phone numbers and who they belong to? No one. No one can do it. Okay, so let's quickly help you. The best option here is to use a password manager. You can download a password manager from the App Store. Okay, and what that'll allow you to do is you create these long passwords, or the password manager recommends passwords for you, and you link them to everything you have to log into. And what the password manager does is it actually just puts in the password for you in a fully encrypted environment. You are less likely to fall prey to hacking or a cyber attack using a password manager. Then if you continue to use your bad habits, your weak password, save password on multiple accounts, writing the passwords down, it's the same thing. All those things are going to get you into trouble. A lot of people ask me, Kevin, which one should we use? Just pick one of the top 5 in the App Store. That's all. And it's a paid for. For those of you that have got, your business is fairly chunky and you've got, 5, 10, 15, 20 staff, you can actually buy a corporate license. We do that in Investec. We have a corporate license for our staff. We all use password managers. Okay, so this is going to be part of securing your cyber universe. Okay, thank you, Leandre. Next slide. So what I quickly want to do is show you the one fraud that is most likely to affect you, especially if you're in the property world. This fraud is very likely to affect you. It's known as business email compromise. Many of you are very familiar with it. You've heard stories around the braai about this fraud, essentially email hacking. Let me run you through the attack quickly. So let's use a true property transaction story. This happened many, many years ago. It's one of my first encounters with BEC fraud. So we had a client, they were registrars, so they were doctors. They had just qualified, they had finished their internships, and they'd just become essentially junior doctors. They're known as registrars here in South Africa. Both husband and wife, mom and dad lent them 500,000 Rand as a deposit on a house. Okay. They were engaging an estate agent. That they, signed, offered a purchase, did all those cool things. Estate agent needed the 500,000 Rand deposit. Right. Estate agent emails them the banking details. What was not known at that time was that the estate agent's bank account, email account had been hacked. What you're looking at here on the screen is what a hack in an email account looks like. So what you're looking at here are filter rules. Every single email account comes with filter rules. Okay. So when I first encountered this fraud in April of 2013, the assumption is that the fraudsters were sitting in your account watching what you were doing. That is not true. Okay, what they do is they log in because they've gotten your user details through phishing, bad password habits, things like that. They log in and they create these filter rules. What these filter rules do is they intercept all your emails and pass them on to the fraudsters automatically. So there you see at Investec, it's one of our bank. There's David, one of our bankers, and there's the redirect address at renniestravel.com. So what happened in this instance, when the estate agent emailed the invoice to the client, the fraudsters had created a rule that said anything with the word invoice, bank details, anything like that, redirect. Obviously, the word invoice was in that email. It redirected to the fraudsters. The fraudsters did one thing. They just changed the bank account number on those details. The name of the account is irrelevant to the transaction. The branch code is irrelevant. It's universal. Once they change the bank account number to an account that they control, okay, they then forward it onto our client. They spoof the email account. If you're interested, later today, you can literally type these words into Google, how to spoof an email account. You'll get hundreds of websites that'll spoof any email account on the planet. Some of them charge as low as $2, so that when the email arrives at the recipient, it looks like it's come from the original sender. Okay. And so our client received this email. He'd been engaging with the estate agent. All the historical conversations were in the email. And so he paid the 500,000 Rand into the fraudster's bank account. Okay. And so luckily, they paid on a Friday. This was still when EFTs took 2 or 3 days. They don't take 2 or 3 days anymore. The story ended very well. We were able to get the money back, all of it, but it doesn't end like that all the time. Okay. BEC fraud is the biggest corporate fraud in the world. It is the biggest business fraud in the world. It is the biggest business fraud in South Africa. Okay. There is legal precedent here, very strong legal precedent now. The first legal precedent was set in August of 2018, Van der Spey versus de Jong. That has been reinforced by various cases, culminating in the ENS versus Horton case, which solidified case law for BEC fraud going forward. And basically, it boils down to the following. Whoever makes the payment, the onus is on you to verify that you are paying the correct account. Okay. So we're going to leave that with you. I've shown you BEC fraud, very prolific fraud. Thank you, Leandro. You can move to the next slide. I want to show you being vished. It's essentially phishing over the telephone. This is the biggest financial fraud in the financial sector at the moment. Okay. And again, this all has to do with manipulating the human being using technology. So let's show you how the attack works. Number one, you're going to get an SMS. So here's some examples. So it says, Investec Bank, good day, Mr. So-and-so. Our consultant was unable to contact you telephonically regarding a suspicious transaction for an amount of 15,499. On your Visa card, if this is your transaction, please reply 1 for yes, or if this is not your transaction, reply 2 for no, and one of our consultants will get hold of you. So now you're sitting in a meeting, you're sitting listening to this webinar, you're in the movies, you're at a restaurant, you get this SMS. Okay. Now you reply 2, no, it's not me. Okay. All of a sudden you get a phone call. Now, if you've got an app like Truecaller on your phone, you're dead in the water, because what Truecaller does is that, let's say you're getting constant phone calls from an insurance company. So you register on the app, you push spam, and you register that number as spam. Truecaller accepts that information you've given them as gospel. They don't check it, they don't verify it, they don't do anything. So forever and a day, when that insurance company phones an individual who's got Truecaller, it's going to pop up as spam. Now, what the fraudsters have done is they've manipulated that process. They have registered all the bank's names, including Investec, on Truecaller as their own. So here you see it says Investec Card Division. At the bottom is a cell phone number. So if you're one of these users who use caller ID like Truecaller, it's going to pop up and say it's Investec's Card Division. So now psychologically, you're being manipulated into thinking it is actually the bank. Now you answer the phone. Dear Mr. Smith, it's Investec's fraud department. Thank you for replying. We see you said that this is not your transaction. Can we confirm it's not your transaction? Absolutely, it's not my transaction. Okay, don't worry. We'll sort this out for you. Okay, we need some information from you. What you don't realize has already happened is they have already phished you. Okay, so remember I showed you what phishing was, how you went into that login screen, gave away your login credentials. That has already happened to you a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. We've actually seen fraudsters hold their login credential for up to 9 months before using it. Now what they're doing is they then say to you, listen, don't panic, we can reverse this transaction. Please can you type the one-time PIN that we are sending you to automatically reverse the transaction. A one-time PIN appears on your banking app, and they say to you, please don't read it back to us. We're not allowed to know what it is. Type it into the system. Meanwhile, it's just an SMS. The same SMS that you received, you're typing it back. You're sending it to the fraudster. And you send this one-time PIN you've received to the fraudster. Meanwhile, what they're actually doing, they're logging into your bank account, and you've just let them in by giving them the one-time PIN to log into your bank account. Now what the fraudsters do is they start to create virtual cards and they start to spend your money on your virtual cards. And you'll see all these transactions start to pop up. And what the fraudsters then do is say, oh, here's a card transaction. We can see the fraudsters. We need to reverse that transaction for you as well. We're going to send you another OTP. Meanwhile, now Visa Secure, MasterPass are sending you authorizations for that card transaction to be processed. But the fraudster's conning you and saying to you, that's a reversal request. So you keep putting these OTPs into the SMS and sending it to the fraudsters. And they even send you, if you look on the right, an SMS that says the transaction has been successfully reversed. We had a client who did this 51 times with the fraudster on the phone. They paid the fraudsters. He authorized 3.1 million rands worth of transactions. Okay. Every single, and you must understand with the banks, when you authorize a transaction, when it's your username and password, when it's an OTP, when it's on your authorized device, all the bank systems can see that this is you. Everything from a technology perspective is saying, so the banks allow the transactions to run. Because all the security protocols that have been put in place are you. And so this is a very good demonstration of how the human being can be manipulated. Right, let's show you one more slide. Thank you, Leandre.
Kevin, this is awesome. We've got 2 minutes left just to give you some idea of time.
Thank you. I'm doing very well for time.
You're doing very well, absolutely.
Thank you. You can play the video, Leandre. Just one more click. Thank you. So what you're seeing here is a cell phone snatch. And this is happening all over South Africa. Now, the whole point of a cell phone snatch is they're not taking your phone because you've got this nice, pretty cell phone. You've got a new iPhone 16. They're not taking the phone initially for its intrinsic value. They're taking the phone because that is the keys to the kingdom. This is how you're getting into bank accounts. So they're going to grab her phone, and the attack really is not to sell the phone on the black market, which will eventually happen, but that is a secondary benefit. The primary benefit for them is they want to get into your bank account, and you cannot get into a bank account without a cell phone because all the one-time PINs and authorizations are going to the phone. Okay, and it's not linked to your SIM card, it's linked to your banking app. Okay, now you say to me, Kevin, how are they getting into the phone? It's your rubbish 4- and 6-digit passwords. Okay, that's the issue, the 4- and 6-digit passwords. So that's why I have a 23-character password on my phone. Now, once they're in your phone, how are they getting into the banking apps? This is the other problem. This is the bad habit issue. More than 50% of you on this call have saved your username and passwords on your phones. You are using your phone as a diary to run your life. Okay, the fraudsters know this. So they're going to go into your phone and they're going to find all your passwords. Some of you are using the keychain. Apple has a keychain functionality. Android has a similar password functionality. What do I need to look at the passwords in your keychain? It's your rubbish 4- and 6-digit password. Okay, so they're getting into the phones, they're getting into the banking apps, and because they're holding the physical phone, they'll authorize everything themselves. Okay, so guys, you've got to have long passwords. You've got to use password managers. Okay, if your phone is lost or stolen, borrow a phone, call your bank, have all your bank accounts blocked. That's very, very important. So to sum it up in 30 seconds, the cybercrime issue is about the human being. All the technology does is it facilitates the transactions. The technology in and of itself is not the issue. The technology is the human being, because all our protocols are now built, all the bank's protocols are now built to verify that it is the real client doing the transaction. So all the fraudsters are doing is manipulating the real client to do the transaction on their behalf. Okay, and this is what cybercrime is. This is how it works. All these fancy hacks you see, they hacked the Pentagon. These are all nations. This is North Korea doing stuff. This is China doing stuff. The Ukraine doing stuff. America, they're also doing. That's all like James Bond stuff. The real world is what I've shown you today. Okay. Thank you so much, Cock. I appreciate your time.
Kevin, thank you very much. This is eye-opening. It's scary stuff. It's actually worse news than the Bulls beating the Stormers last weekend. There's this phrase in property: location. Just going through your presentation, I think the phrase from your side is check. Not to be fallen victim of cybersecurity. Thank you very much to you, an investor, for doing this today. I appreciate this.